In today's video, I want to go over the top 10 best creepypasta characters that have been modded into Friday Night Funkin'. Make sure to put your favorite creepypasta character in the comments, and we're going to kick this off with Hypno, specifically from Hypno's Lullaby. The mod itself was very well done, but Hypno's actual creepypasta adds an extra layer of creepy on top of the very polished mod. For those of you that don't know, Hypno's creepypasta reads like a poem. It goes, "Come little children, come with me, safe and happy you will be. Away from your homes, now let us run. With Hypno, you'll have so much fun. Oh little children, please don't cry, Hypno wouldn't hurt a fly. Be free, be free, be free to play. Come down to my cave with me to stay. Oh little children, please don't squirm, those ropes I know will hold you firm. Hypno tells you this is true, but sadly, Hypno lied to you. Oh little children, you mustn't leave, your families for you will grieve. Their minds will unravel at the seam, allowing me to haunt their dreams. But surely all of you must know that it is time for you to go. Oh little children, you weren't clever. Now you will stay with me forever." This poem is based off the Pokédex of Hypno, where it implies that there was a time where Hypno actually hypnotized a child and took the child away in the Pokemon games. He basically fed off their nightmares and the nightmares of their parents. I think this creepypasta has to make the list because it serves as a reminder that if Pokemon were real, some of them would be literal nightmare fuel, and they'd be especially dangerous to children. The next character I want to add to this list is going to be Slenderman, and while I understand that some people may not think that his mods are that great, I think that they are really underrated. The Friday Night Funk interpretation mod is a great example of this. Not only is Slenderman one of the OGs in the creepypasta genre, but he also has one of the creepiest backstories of any character. Slenderman is basically a supernatural creature who is known for roaming around the forest and stalking his prey over long periods of time. And when I say long periods, I mean 2, 3, or sometimes as long as 10 years before he actually really goes after them. Meaning that he really likes to slowly torture people in a psychological sense. Now the coldest part about Slenderman is that when he finally does decide to catch you, he will. And he usually impales his victim on a tree, and he basically just lets them leak out until they expire. And if that's not bad enough, after they expire, he takes out all their important body parts and he puts them in plastic bags. And then he puts them back into the person. I think he definitely earns a spot on this list. Next up, I'm going to go on Mario 85. There have been quite a few different versions of Mario that come out in Friday Night Funkin', but I still think Mario 85 is the creepiest out of all of them. I think the thing that makes him so creepy to me is how he pretends to be a regular version of Mario and he looks fairly harmless, but then he's able to literally turn into a giant Brutus version of himself that is basically unstoppable. The fact that he can also drag people into the video game world where he has a ton of power and control adds to his creepiness. But I think the biggest factor here is that he's just like Lord X. What I mean by that is that he doesn't just try to devour the person, but he also consumes their soul. Definitely one of the best creepypasta characters to be added in Friday Night Funkin'. And since we were just talking about Mario, I think the next one is very fitting, and that's going to be I Hate You Mario. This is the creepypasta where Luigi ends up getting thrown into the lava and he looks like a burnt zombie. This makes the list because it simply is one of the most popular creepypastas ever. It literally has a cult following. And if we're being honest, every mod that this version of Luigi is in is very high quality. Now for those of you that don't know, Luigi in this creepypasta is basically a sadistic, arrogant manipulator, and he ends up portraying Mario because he's convinced that he deserves all the spotlight instead of being Mario's sidekick. Now when Luigi sees an opening, he attacks his brother and he knocks him out for a short time. But Mario quickly recovers while Luigi is gloating and he knocks him into the lava. Now this creepypasta is kind of sad because you can tell that Mario didn't actually want to hurt his brother even though Luigi betrayed him. But I think that's one of the reasons that this is definitely one of the best creepypastas to be brought into Friday Night Funkin'. Now I know that some people won't like this next choice, but I actually really like Curse's creepypasta story. I know that it isn't very creepy, especially considering that he's supposed to be an EXE, but I think that's why I like it. It was cool to see a character that broke the creepypasta mold a bit, and also a character that had a somewhat heartwarming story. Basically, Curse was caught in a landslide, and while he was able to survive with only a heavily damaged leg, Knuckles was with him and was not so lucky. Many of Curse's friends blamed him for Knuckles' death and basically turned on him, the most surprising being Tails. One of the reasons that I really like this creepypasta is that Curse actually finds an unlucky ally in this universe in the form of Dr. Eggman. Eggman sees that Curse is getting so much hate, and he actually retires from being a criminal and decides to use the rest of his life and money to help Curse live a more comfortable life, and eventually helps him escape that universe altogether. together. I know this character ruffles some feathers, but I'm definitely going to put him on this list. The next character that I want to talk about is going to be Gold from the Lost Silver creepypasta. I think a lot of the Pokemon creepypastas are great, and I love that Friday Night Funkin' has added so many in, but I think this one really stands out because it is one of the originals. I'll never forget reading the story and getting to the part where you see the Pokemon that the protagonist has in his party, and it contains 5 unknowns in a Cyndaquil that spell out leave, and the Cyndaquil's name is Hurry. That alone gave me chills when I first read it. The other thing that really makes this creepypasta so creepy is that you know that Gold is just a kid and he's basically being forced to suffer in this world. As time goes on, he starts to lose his mind, he starts to lose his legs and his arms, and he's eventually left as just a empty husk of a kid. Definitely one of the saddest, but also one of the best creepypastas. Next up, we have the Mouse AVI mods, and you know this one is popular just by the sheer number of mods that have been made from this creepypasta. Each one may be slightly different, but the core trauma and pain that Mickey goes through are consistent for each one of the mods. Mickey is usually abandoned by his friends, he loses Minnie either to another man or simply because he's working too much, and he always ends up in a type of purgatory or in literal hell with the devil. I think Mouse AVI makes it so high on this list because people actually feel sorry for Mickey when they read his creepypasta, as well as been a bit creeped out. And I don't think many creepypastas do that as well as this one does. I also rate this one so high because most of the Mouse AVI mods are high quality and really do a great job at showing the grief that Mickey has. Now the next character is a fairly recent addition to the Friday Night Funkin' community, but has been around a creepypasta community for a long time, and that is Red Mist Squidward. And if I'm being honest, I'm surprised that YouTube didn't crack down on some of the videos that I've done for him, because they are fairly dark. For those of you that don't know this creepypasta, here are the spark notes. The juicy part starts when Squidward is practicing his clarinet until he hears SpongeBob's laughter, which is kind of annoying to him, and Squidward basically goes out and yells at him. He tells him to keep it down because he has a concert coming up. And then we fast forward to Squidward actually being in the concert hall, hiding behind the curtain because he's actually about to perform in front of a full crowd in the theater. And the thing to note is that he is visibly nervous about it. And if we're being honest, it's for good reason. When the performance actually begins, the audience is repulsed by Squidward's awful playing, and they boo him aggressively. And then something weird happens to the whole crowd. Their eyes turn into these weirdly realistic, extremely bloodshot eyes, and Squidward is visibly traumatized by the experience. He goes back to his house and he cries for a long time until he hears a deep demonic voice telling him to do it. At this point, Squidward looks into the camera, he puts an object into his mouth, and I won't say what he does because YouTube will get mad, but I think you understand how the creepypasta ends. This one is definitely one of the darkest and best creepypastas ever. Before we go to the final character, I want to add 3 honorable mentions. The first is going to be Shinto. Shinto's obviously from the Hypno's Lullaby mod and quickly became a community favorite. Even though she's kind of goofy looking, her backstory still manages to be creepy, and the voice line from Gray also helps this mod be very creepy. The next honorable mention is going to be Massacre Patrick, and he's a version of Patrick that actually comes from a SpongeBob Horror Tales comic, and while the comic that it's from is actually only 7 pages, it still manages to be very dark. This version of Patrick is classified as a serial killer, and when reading the comic, we can definitely see that he's already taken out Squidward, and by the end of the comic, we see that Plankton also falls victim to him. I'll make sure to link the comic down below in case you want to actually see this for yourself. The last honorable mention I'm going to give is going to be the starved Eggman. This character was one of the most popular characters to come out this year in Friday Night Funkin'. While his story isn't technically a creepypasta, it is creepy enough to fall into the category in my opinion. While some people may not think that it's weird that Eggman is eating animals, when you take into account that the animals in that world can actually speak, it gets a lot more creepy. Because let's be honest, if chickens, cows, and pigs could actually walk on 2 legs, talk, and work among us, there would be a ton more people who are vegan. It's hard to eat something that actually can talk and beg for his life. Put down in the comments if you agree or if you disagree with me. Another reason that I want to add him on this list is because he is one of the scariest versions of Eggman. He got to keep all of his intelligence, but he also became super ruthless, which is why in the story he's actually able to take out Sonic. Definitely worthy of the honorable mention list. The last character that's going to be on this list is going to be Sonic.exe, and while he may not be the first creepypasta character to be added into Friday Night Funkin', I think he is the one that popped off the most and started the trend of more creepypasta characters being modded into Friday Night Funkin'. Even to this day, I think his mods are still the most popular to ever be added into Friday Night Funkin'. And it's understandable to some extent why people like his character. Many people have read his stories on their own or watched their favorite YouTubers play the ROM hack back in the day. I know that I remember watching Markiplier playing it years ago. I also think people simply like how brutal and ruthless this version of Sonic can be, basically treating his victims like they are toys, just waiting for him to break them once he's done playing with them. Now I know that some people may think that he's overrated, but he's definitely one of the pioneers in the creepypasta genre, and he deserves the top spot when talking about Friday Night Funkin' mods for sure. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this video on the screen here. If you think I missed a character that should have been on this list, put it down in the comments, and subscribe today to become a member of the Orseofkorse. We'll see you tomorrow with another video. Peace, peace.